The Israeli military has gained air superiority over the skies of Iran. In 4 days, it's carried out multiple attacks on Iran's military leadership and nuclear program.
Meanwhile, Israeli citizens, residential buildings, and infrastructure are under attack from very large Iranian missiles. Chris Mitchell reports from the scene of one strike in central Israel.
Overnight, missiles landed in Tel Aviv, killing at least 5 people. The IDF says Iran has launched hundreds of ballistic missiles. Most have been intercepted, but some managed to hit Israeli cities, including Bat Yam, over the weekend.
Behind me is just one of the locations where Iranian missiles have hit. It sheared one apartment building in half, destroyed a building beside it, and the damage goes for blocks around. The missile contained nearly 1,000 pounds of explosives.
9 were killed in the attack, 3 of them children, and nearly 200 injured.
But our spirit is strong and it will win. We know that our enemies tried to target civilians, but this is why starting tomorrow we're going to rebuild this area. We have 75 buildings that took a hit.
I tell you, these are very large missiles that are landing here to cause such damage like this. Iran has openly called for the annihilation of Israel, of the United States, of all Western ideology. Israel had to do a preemptive strike in order to defend our civilians. Now, what we're targeting is strategic military targets. What they're targeting, like you see behind me in the various sites across Israel, is civilian infrastructure, residential communities.
Speaking from the site at Bat Yam, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned of what might happen if Iran is not stopped.
Imagine what would happen if Iran had nuclear weapons that would fall on all Israeli cities. Imagine what would happen if Iran had 20,000 missiles. Not one, but 20,000 of them. That is an existential threat.
U.S. President Donald Trump supporting Israel's operations, but still hoping Israel and Iran can reach a deal.
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens.
The IDF says it's making history. In just 4 days, in what some are comparing to the miraculous 6-day war in 1967, Israel has targeted the vast array of Iran's nuclear infrastructure, including enrichment facilities in Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan. The IDF says most of Iran's military commanders have been eliminated, and Mossad agents on the ground have taken out Iranian air defenses, ballistic missiles, and nuclear scientists. Meanwhile, social media videos from inside Iran show Iranian citizens cheering the strikes, hoping it will bring down the dictatorship that's ruled for 46 years.
I call upon the Iranian people, this is your moment. This is your moment to stand up, to remove the mullahs if you can, and the world will stand behind you.
Opposition sources claim some Iranian leaders have already fled the country. In Israel, the spirit remains resolute. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, Yechiel Leiter is Israel's ambassador to the U.S. Ambassador Leiter, thanks so much for joining with us. What's your intelligence telling you about the impact of the strikes on Iran's military and its nuclear program?
Well, thank you, Gordon. Good morning. Good to be with you. We've had some stellar successes since the operation began Thursday night. This is not a 6-day war. This is more like a 16-day war, hopefully not more. But we are on the trajectory of completely diminishing the Iranian regime's ability to produce and deliver nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. It's very important to understand that the nuclear weapons program is the most immediate threat. Imagine that one bomb that your reporters showed from Bat Yam and Haifa, imagine that was a nuclear warhead. But at the same time, there's also the threat of a massive ballistic missile attack in which many hundreds of missiles would hit at the same time. We have a very, very good defensive missile systems, I should say, and we're also being bolstered by the American missile defense systems, the THAAD and the Aegis. We're very, very thankful to the administration for providing us with these very, very critical systems. But no system, no missile defense system can seal the skies hermetically. So there are going to be ballistic missiles that get through. These missiles are huge. They carry a tremendous payload and inflict tremendous damage. But we are, day after day, hour by hour, peeling away the offensive capability of the Iranian regime. And we're hopeful that in that span of time, more or less, 2 to 3 weeks, that we'll have completely brought the Iranian regime to its knees.
Well, just looking at the destruction in Tel Aviv, I can't imagine if one of those missiles had a nuclear warhead. It just underscores the need to eliminate their ability. So let's talk about that. The main goal is to take out their nuclear production. One facility in particular, Fordo, it's built into a mountain. So are the strikes being effective in shutting that one down?
Well, we have a number of stages before we get to Fordo. I know there are a lot of questions regarding Fordo because it's about 1.5 kilometers, about a mile underground. But there are many stages we have to contend with before we get to Fordo. We're going to get to Fordo. We have some tricks up our sleeve that we have not exposed yet. I think that we've shown that there are a number of surprises that we could bring to bear. From the beepers and walkie-talkies in Lebanon to Hania in his bedroom in Tehran, and to our operation that the Mossad and the IAF pulled off Thursday night when there were drones already inside of Tehran that were operated on location, and to the full surprise of the Iranian military. So we have to get to the other sites. We've almost completely destroyed Natanz, which is the premier uranium enrichment site. It has almost been 100% knocked out of capacity. There's still a little bit more to go, apparently, and we're going to work on that. The conversion site in Isfahan has been completely destroyed, and we're going to pursue the underground installation at Isfahan as well. There are a number of other sites, but you have to bear in mind that the military has offices and production sites and research and development sites all throughout Tehran. So what we did yesterday, in pointed contradistinction to the way this Iranian regime behaves, where it targets civilians. I mean, the missiles that fell in Tel Aviv and Haifa were not an accident. They're targeting civilians. What we did yesterday was tell civilians to leave Tehran, and one could see long lines, traffic jams of people, Tehranis leaving the city in every direction, many hundreds of thousands of people leaving in order to move them out of the way of out of the line of fire. And then we proceeded to take out many installations in Tehran that are research and development centers, that are factories producing components for the ballistic missile system and for the weapons-grade uranium systems. So this is not something that is a one-shot deal. This is something where we have to work on day after day after day, and at the same time we're peeling away their ground-to-ground missile sites. It's important to understand the way these operate. They're not in one particular place, holed in to the location. They're on the back of these huge semi-trailers, and they keep moving them around. In many cases, they move them into underground tunnels. So our intelligence has to locate them and then take them out in a precision bomb. So we've apparently reached about 1/3 of these ballistic missile launchers, but we're going to pursue them entirely so that we deplete the ballistic missile amount of missiles that they have throughout Iran.
Let's just talk about some tactics for a moment. Is there any hope that you could get the so-called bunkerbuster bombs from the U.S. in order to help with the effort?
Well, the buster bomb would be fit for operation in Fordo. The U.S. and will have to make a decision as to whether or not they'd like to participate. But I would not resign and constrict the dealing with Fordo just to the Buster bomb. We will deal with Fordo in one way or another. It is our hope, of course, that allies will come to our assistance in this. This is not just a war for Israel, for our security. I mean, it's enough for us. But this is really a regime that threatens the Judeo-Christian civilization. They threaten the West. I mean, this is a terrorist regime that has built terrorist infrastructure around the world. They've supported terrorism as far away as Argentina and many corners of the world. They try to target individuals they don't like. They attempted to take out President Trump twice. And former Secretary of State Pompeo was a target of their attempted murder machine. These are people that belong to a death cult. They have no consideration whatsoever for human life. And the apex of their attempt to diminish, weaken, destroy Western civilization is through Israel. Israel is the first step. So in many respects, we're the canary in the coal mine. And it would be nice if our allies in the West would look for every opportunity to assist in bringing this tyrannical regime to its knees. And it would be the best gift that the world could give to the Iranian people. Look, the Iranian people are the most pro-American people in the Middle East, just not the regime.
Well, they've been saying death to Israel, and they've been saying death to America for decades. I mean, this isn't something new. They celebrate the takeover of the U.S. Embassy, and they celebrate it every year on November 4th with Death to America Day. So yes, I think, I hope Europe wakes up to it, and I think America's waking up to it, but we seem to be split on the issue.
They're just a bad actor. I mean, you talk about preventing the freedom maritime shipping. They're behind it. I mean, look, they're behind the Houthis. They're behind the Hezbollah, which inflicted tremendous damage on American troops, 241 Marines in Beirut. It's Hezbollah funded and trained by Iran. This is a very, very bad actor, and they need to be taken out. Our immediate concern was with our survival, and they call us the one-bomb country. So we have to absolutely act in order to remove that existential threat from our country.
Is Israel committed to the long term here? I heard you say 16 days that you hope that can be wrapped up. At some point, are you going to need troops on the ground to make sure the nuclear capacity is completely eliminated?
Well, 16 days, I said, it may not be 6 days like everybody knows about the 6-day war, maybe a 16-day war. We hope it's not going to go beyond that. But if it does, we're in here for the long haul. This is whatever it takes to eliminate the nuclear and ballistic missile threat from Iran. It's a question of survival. As I've said before on your show, Gordon, 80 years ago, there was a guy running around Europe, a crazed individual talking about war, talking about eliminating the Jews, and nobody did anything about it. And at the end, there were isolationists then too who said, we don't want to go into war. Let's stay away from war. So they let Hitler move forward. They appeased Hitler. And what did we end up? We ended up in a Second World War in which 65 million people were killed. 6 million Jews, a third of our nation, were lost in the gas chambers. So sometimes you need an operational military strike in order to avoid war. And that's what we're doing. We're here to avoid war. We're here to prevent war. Because if we don't prevent war now, it's going to be a much bigger war later. So we need to invest in the moment. We're a very resilient people. And we see the way that our citizens are reacting at the time. We've lost already 24 people in these ballistic missiles attacks. There are well over 300 people injured and hospitalized, but yet the people are absolutely committed to seeing this war through. Our sons and daughters are flying the planes right now over the skies of Tehran. around the clock. I mean, they haven't tired for a moment. And this is after a year and a half since the attack of Hamas on our people in the south. We lost 1,200 people, and since then, almost 900 soldiers. That's over 2,000 people in a country of 10 million, the equivalent of about 65,000 people here in the United States being killed in war in a year and a half. So we're resilient, we're committed, we're full of conviction, because this is a question of survival for us and for peace throughout the region and the world.
There's a report that President Trump vetoed an attempt against the political leadership. You were very successful in taking out the military leadership. If you're really looking for governmental change, don't you need to go at the political as well?
Well, let me clarify that, that report, there's so many reports out there. What I found here in Washington since assuming my position as ambassador is that there are many journalists who first create a narrative out of their imagination and then pass commentary on the narrative they create. I don't know of any give and take on the issue of removing Khamenei, the supreme leader, from this world that was discussed with the United States. Look, the issue of the political leadership has to be left to the people of Iran. We're not in the business of regime change. That's not our agenda. People have to choose their regime. And if our activity to prevent a nuclear Iran facilitates the change of the regime by the people of Iran, well, so be it. Of course, it'll be good for everyone, most importantly for the people of Iran. But we're not in that business of regime change. What I will say is that anybody who poses a direct threat to our existence, to our survival, should not be off the table in terms of our ability to act in that regard.
Well said, Ambassador. Thanks so much for being with us. Again, we stand with you. We stand with Israel. This is quite clearly a present danger to Israel. We've been hearing it for decades as they got so close to developing a nuclear weapon. I thank Danny Danone for what Israel did. I'll thank you. I think the world owes you a great debt for acting and acting in time.
Thank you, Gordon. Good to be with you and all of your viewers. And thank you so much for your prayers.
All right. God bless.
God bless you. Good day.
Well, CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what's it like on the ground with the reality of alarms and missiles landing? I hear there was a shock blast that affected the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. What's it like there?
Well, we saw it firsthand yesterday at Bat Yam when we saw that one missile did destroy two buildings, actually, and really the damage went all over that. As you said, some of the shock waves from one of the missiles that hit Israel has damaged, in part, the U.S. Embassy. And what I've also seen here on the ground, I would say, Gordon, is the Israeli spirit. I'll give you an example. 71-year-old Ruti, her building was hit, but she says the price is worth it not to have a nuclear Iran. Golda Meir said famously years ago, Israel has a secret weapon. We have nowhere else to go. When we interviewed the police spokesman yesterday, he said Israel's strong, resilient, part of our DNA. And yesterday, we had to go into a bomb shelter. Actually, it was an underground parking lot. And we went with many of those rescue workers that you saw there in Bet Yam, working to find the bodies. And then we went down there inside. Many just started spontaneously singing, Am Israel High. That song says, the people of Israel live. And so that's what I see over here on the ground here. People have to go through a protocol when these missiles strike. You have to go, they have a pre-warning, a pre-warning. You have to stay near a shelter. You have to prepare to go to a shelter when you hear the sirens. And that's something we have to do here at the Bureau as well. But throughout all these missile attacks, Gordon, I would say there's a resilience that I call remarkable.
Well, let's talk about the Iranian side. How resilient are they? I've seen the parades, if you will, the celebrations of Death to America Day, the Death to Israel chants. There's throughout the current government, there's an ideology of hate. The head of the takeover of our embassy all the way back in the 1970s becomes their UN ambassador. It just seems to be just incredible hate. So I look at Gaza. Gaza elected Hamas to be their government. Is it realistic to think the Iranians are somehow going to turn against this ideology?
Gordon, I actually do think it is possible. I think, unlike Gaza, many of the people of Iran despise this regime and have for many years. There's a history of popular uprisings. You remember 2009, it was called the Green Revolution. 2022, Masha Amini, she was killed by the police, and there were protests throughout the country. And what makes this different, I think, Gordon, is Israel's attacking the very heart of the regime, the leaders, the infrastructure, the military, the police. So could this be a tipping point for the people to rise up and overthrow the dictatorship, because there's been so much damage to the regime right now? But what I can say is many inside and outside of Iran, they're praying that finally this regime will fall after 46 years of tyranny.
Any prediction of how long you think this war is going to last? Last time Iran got into a protracted battle, it was years in the war against Iraq. Are we looking at a very long period of time?
I don't think so, Gordon. And the reason, I believe, is that in just 4 days, the Israeli military has had military achievements that are literally historic. What they've done to the damage of the nuclear infrastructure, the military command structure, the many of the things inside Tehran as well. And just a note that the IDF is telling people to get out of buildings instead of what Iran is doing is sitting people in the buildings. But I think it actually, one of the keys, I think, is Fordow. Fordow is that main nuclear enrichment structure deep underground. If they can get that, I think that will mean a lot, as well as they continue to eliminate the military and the political infrastructure, and perhaps, maybe then, that the people could rise up.
Well, that would be wonderful. It would certainly lead to a new era of peace in the Middle East if the main state sponsor of terrorism is taken off the world map. If there is truly a change in government and they no longer do that, it would be absolutely incredible. So that's something to pray for. Chris, thank you for your insights, and thank you for being a watchman on the wall.